What's up, YouTube? Capital G here. Got a spicy duel for you guys to check out. Well, it's going to be spicy for one of the duelists in this duel. The other one, yeah, he or she is really not going to be doing much of anything except discarding a couple of cards of their choosing, and that's just about it because it is an FTK duel. If you guys have ever heard of the Gallis Starbeast FTK, this is essentially what you guys are going to be watching. It's more or less a new updated version of Gallis, and there are some small engines that you can run that are still fantastic in today's Yu-Gi-Oh, such as the Blue Eyes White Dragon engine. A lot of people will choose to run this with Exodia because honestly, when you play Blue Eyes and you play a lot of the Blue Eyes cards, there's so much draw power that can kind of be brought to the table. And when you run these FTK decks, you can run Blue Eyes, which is a target from trade-in, and you can run Card of Continents, which you use to discard the White Stone of Legend. You can also discard that with Hand Destruction, get 2 more cards and get a Blue Eyes to be used for your trade-ins, etc., etc. But then when you also throw in like the Sky Striker engine, then the deck starts getting dangerously consistent because Kagari lets you reuse your copies of Engage, and then Engage can actually draw you cards and get you other cards. So the deck is actually super consistent, and when we get to the FTK, I'll explain it because, you know, some people might not be familiar with the FTK. So the first part is pretty much standard in any FTK. Just try to draw as many cards as possible, you know, get rid of your Blue Eyes, trade them in, use Dark World Dealings, things of that sort. Now that you have a bunch of spells in the graveyard, Mobilize Engage nets you another card, which you can use to mobilize again, and now you can just fix your hand a couple of times from the Magical Mallets. See that a lot in FTK decks. Now, there are 3 pieces that essentially you kind of need to combine in this deck, and all 3 of them are, no, actually it's 4 cards. So there's a reason that you gotta have this many cards in your hand. You're going to need a copy of, obviously, Gallis Starbeast. This is the card that does the effect damage that makes it so your opponent is going to burn to death. You also need this card right here, Cockroach Knight. Many people might not know about this card, but it's not a hard once per turn, and it makes this play infinite. It says when this card is sent to the graveyard, it is returned to the top of this deck. So you need to get this card in the graveyard once you have everything assembled on the field. The way that you do that is with cards like Dark World Dealings and Hand Destruction. Send it to the graveyard, stack it on top of your deck, and that way you know you have a monster on top of your deck for Gallis, and every time it goes to the graveyard, it's going to be returned to the deck. And then you need this guy right here. This is Quake Mirror Doom. This negates the effects of dark and light monsters that try to activate. Now, the interesting thing is our final card, Gen X Ally Birdman, and if you guys have ever wondered why Birdman is limited to 1 in the TCG and the OCG and why it's been limited forever, it's specifically because of this Gallis play, because essentially you get to constantly bounce monsters like Gallis to the hand. Even though your Birdman's effect is negated, you can still pay the cost of the effect. So you basically can just continually bounce Gallis to the hand and re-special summon it. So we've already got our Doom on field. This is going to negate the Birdman's effect. I believe that Cockroach Knight was used with Dark World Dealings, so it's on top of our deck as well. And now at this point, it's basically just GG no re. You're going to special summon Gallis. Cockroach Knight is going to go back to the top of the deck. You're going to activate Birdman's effect to pay the cost, which is putting Gallis back in your hand. And your opponent just won't have any way of stopping this. As I said earlier, even though Birdman's effect is not going to resolve, you will always pay the cost, and this is an infinite loop. So you can do this. Well, it does 600 damage, so it's not like your opponent's going to be here all day and night. A lot of times your opponent will probably just scoop. In fact, I forget if I even watched this duel out. I feel like maybe his opponent's going to scoop. You know what? I guess he's being a good sport. He's saying, you know, I can't stop this, but I am going to let you go ahead and finish the damage and kill me. But yeah, it's just kind of a fun play. People used to do it way back in the day, but yeah, this is the reason that Birdman got limited, is because of this specific FTK. And I guess Konami, it didn't really make sense to like ban Gallis or anything like that. And then, you know, we saw Gallis being used in the UK version, the UK winning version of Burning Abyss. So I'm gonna pause for a second. I'm gonna show you guys the deck list. Yo, you trolls out there who might want to play this deck online. So this is what the deck looks like on paper. It's actually quite incredible, man. This deck looks so much like a lot of the decks that you'd see during like the GX era, like the Shadow Priestess of Ohm FTK. Well, you know, minus the links and whatnot. But yeah, this deck runs a whole lot of 3-ofs because these are cards that that you want to see. Then you got like Limited Birdman, you got the Gallis, you only need 1 copy of Cockroach Knight. Everything else is pretty much like what you'd see in an Exodia deck. It's nothing but just draw support. You're going to run 3 copies of Dealings and trade-ins for your Blue Eyes, which is searchable. So, you know, a 3-in-3 ratio actually does make sense. Plus, you can discard it with Hand Destruction anyways. Like, that's the great thing about these kind of like FTK decks is with if you run Hand Destruction, there technically aren't any dead cards. If Card Destruction was legal in the TCG, I think you'd see Card Destruction being used in basically all of these decks. You have Card of Consonance. Well, I guess, you know what? Yeah, pretty much. Because I was thinking, what if your opponent had Fairy Tale Snow? But it's not like they couldn't just discard it with Dealings or something like that. If your opponent has Snow, then you're just basically screwed. Into the Void is usually played in these decks. There is no second turn. You either win turn 1 or you are not going to win. Magical Mallet, and then basically just like the rest of the Sky Striker engine. You don't even really need, like, you don't need anything more than just these Link monsters, like the Sky Strikers, I guess. You know, the Karibo is just kind of thrown in here in case you do normal summon the White Stone of Legend and you need to get to your Blue Eyes because maybe you have like a trade-in in your hand that's dead. But outside of this, don't need anything else. You can just put in whatever else you want. It's like when I played Barrier Statues that one time at my regionals and I just threw in a bunch of like Luna Light cards and Melodious in my extra deck just because I could. I knew I was never going to use my extra deck. It's the same exact concept here.